So now we're going to go over the final step of this drawing, and this is where we add and subtract value from the mid-tone ground. I first just want to go over a couple of your tools again. So remember, when you made the ground, you should have only used your vine or willow charcoal. Your vine or willow charcoal is very soft and erasable. It's great for mid-tones. It's not great for very dark darks. It's also good for lighter values when you can kind of erase off that mid-tone with your hand. You should have used it for your underdrawing that you already created. The vine charcoal can also help with blending. If I lay down one of my compressed charcoals and I take my vine and put it over top, it can create a nice, even, darker mid-tone value. The bad part about vine or willow is that it's very erasable. You can easily erase it with your hand or finger. This can cause some issues when you're done with the drawing because you can sort of accidentally pick it up or get fingerprints on it. I will show you how to resolve that issue at the end of this module. The other tool that you'll be using is compressed charcoal. Compressed charcoal is very dark. You're going to be using it for your darkest values. It's more difficult to erase than vine charcoal, so you're going to need to use some of your other erasers if you need to pick it back up. So you should not use this to create your mid-tone ground for that reason, because it's a lot harder and you have to work a lot harder to erase. You need to use the compressed charcoal along with the vine to be able to achieve a full range of values. You can use your vine for your lightest values, you can use your compressed for your darkest values, but you actually have to use the two of them together to get all those in-between values. Your charcoal pencil is your last charcoal value tool. We've used it for some of our beginning drawings this semester. It's great for details, but you are going to be using it very sparingly in this drawing. We don't want to create outlines. We want to create edges through value, not line. So we're trying to avoid making any outlines. I know it's very tempting to do that with the charcoal pencil, so try to set it aside until the very end when you need to add those details, because you should be using it as sparingly as possible. The chamois cloth is our first erasure tool. It's great for soft erasing, also for blending large areas. If you don't have the chamois cloth, you could also use a soft cotton cloth, just a rag that you have, like an old t-shirt or something else like that around the house. I know sometimes the chamois are harder to find. I mentioned that in that earlier video. Once the chamois is dirty, it can also be used to add light value. So you can take a dirty little spot of your chamois and use it to actually create some lighter values in other areas. It can be cleaned by gently washing it in the sink if overly dirty, but you want to wait till it's super dirty to do that. You don't need to do that every time that you use it. Kneaded eraser is another one of our erasure tools. It's used for soft edges. You can also use it as a blending tool to blend in the darker compressed charcoal into mid-tones. It's great for creating textures because you can manipulate and change the size. This is kind of when you take it out of its package, you'll see it's very fun and Play-Doh-y and easy to manipulate. It's also self-cleaning. Once it gets dirty, you just kind of have to bend and stretch it, and it'll sort of clean itself as you bend and stretch the eraser. You should also have a white vinyl eraser. This is used to completely remove the charcoal. It's good for nice hard edges or to try to bring back in full white. As you use it, the edges will wear and it will get dirty. So you want to use a pair of scissors to actually trim and clean it up and give yourself a nice, good hard edge again. Your last erasure tool is your blending stumps. They come in a variety of sizes. So if you're trying to use them for a large area, you have a large one, a little one for a small area. They're good for blending or removing charcoal in small areas that are bigger than your fingertip. When they are dirty, you can use them to actually add light or mid-tone values for areas. If you need to clean them, you can use sandpaper to clean and remove some of the charcoal off of the ends. So, I'm just going to show you in a little quick video just the difference between some of these tools. Here's the chamois cloth. As you can see on the mid-tone ground, it can actually pick up a fair amount of that vine charcoal. This is the white vinyl eraser. It's going to be able to pick up more of that vine charcoal and create a harder, lighter edge. I said, if you need to clean it, you can cut it. Here's my blending stump. You can see it removes less of the vine, but it's also good for blending in small areas. This is the kneaded eraser. It removes a fair amount, not quite as much as the kneaded eraser. And as you can see, you can bend it and manipulate it to make different shapes or smooth or blend edges. I can knead it to clean the charcoal off again. If I need to clean the bending stump, sometimes you have a kit that this comes with, but you can actually just use any kind of sandpaper. I can use that sandpaper to clean my blending stump. If you want to play around with any of these as you go, you can totally do this on your ground before you get started. Just add a little bit more vine to sort of clean it up and smooth back off the edges. Like I said, with the white vinyl eraser, if you need to clean it or get a nice hard edge, all you have to do is cut it with scissors. Alright, so let's go on to our still life. So you should have already mapped out on your still life your general shapes and sizes with your vine charcoal. We're now going to actually go in and add and subtract our value. So I have my mid-tone color. The idea is now I'm either going to erase out if I need a lighter value, or I'm going to add in with my compressed charcoal if I need to have a darker value. So one of the reasons when you're setting up your still life, when you have that sort of dark or light backdrop, it makes it easier to sort of compare values, so I can look at values next to each other. So if I want to create an edge, it's created either through a dark value underneath or a lighter value over top. So as I go to start building my value, I'm just comparing those edges to one another. So I can either add dark with my compressed charcoal, or I can remove charcoal to make it lighter. And you're just going to go throughout your piece and just kind of play around with the charcoal. Now, the cool thing about the mid-tone ground, it's almost like this magic eraser board. It's a lot of fun to play around with the charcoal. If you make a mistake, it's very forgiving. All you have to do is go back in, add a little bit more vine, blend it out. So that's kind of the cool part about the charcoal. The downside is it's pretty messy, so as you're going to get your fingers dirty. Just go in realizing that it's sort of a messier drawing tool. People tend to really love the messy aspect of the charcoal or really hate it. I have to say charcoal, once you kind of get the hang of it through this drawing, is one of the funnest drawing materials for that reason. You can really manipulate it in ways that other drawing materials don't let you. The other interesting thing about charcoal is this is really the oldest, or one of the oldest, drawing materials that we have. They've found charcoal drawings that date back 30,000 years, so you're working with a drawing material that has, one of the oldest histories on Earth, and it's still fun and interesting to use and challenging. So, as you can see, at first I was using the kneaded eraser and the vinyl eraser. Now I'm going in and I'm using the chamois cloth for larger areas. If you don't have the chamois, you can always use, like I said, a soft cotton cloth. It's going to help me remove large areas of value, but it's going to be a softer blend. All right, so I've kind of sped things up here. So like I said, you're going to either add or remove, and it's kind of a process. As I start to remove some charcoal, I might notice that, oh, my pumpkin should be a little bit more darker, so I might add back in some vine charcoal. And as you go, it's that kind of play. You're adding or removing, you're darkening or lightening, and you're just moving throughout the piece, kind of comparing edges. Notice I'm not doing any kind of hard outlines. I want all of my edges defined by value, not by line. Although, in some cases, like in the pumpkin, there are some lines that define some portions, but that's where I can come in and use my charcoal pencil selectively, right? I can come in and do just some of those smaller details. So as you go, like I said, kind of play around, have fun, try to manipulate the value in interesting ways, and it takes time. It's not going to happen all at once. You're just going to kind of build and manipulate it as you go. Like I said, the idea of this drawing, it should take you a couple hours, 2 to 3 hours to finish. So take your time with it and really think about using your charcoals and manipulating those details.